Let's bring in Ali Abunimah. He's director at Electronic Intifada, an independent online news publication focusing on Palestine. He joins us via Skype from Amman. Thank you for speaking on the programme. We've heard from many Palestinians in the last 2 days who say they have no faith that there will be any accountability for Shireen's death. Do you think they're right?
Sadly, I do, but let me just first offer my condolences to everyone at Al Jazeera for the loss of Shireen Abu Akleh. She was an icon and a model, not just for Palestinians and not just for Palestinian journalists, but for all journalists who take their profession seriously. So we all feel this loss tremendously. And we all know that the reason there will be no accountability is because there is no precedent for accountability. It's just not part of Israel's occupation. And it's also much wider than that. It's not just because Israel ensures impunity for its soldiers. It's because the so-called international community, principally the United States and the European Union, but others as well, who fully support Israel, make sure that Israel is free of any consequences for its actions. And so I want to say that Shireen Abu Akleh's blood is just as much on the hands of the United States and the European Union and Great Britain and others, Canada as well, who stand in the way of accountability and arm and support the Israeli occupation that murdered Shireen Abu Akleh as it murders Palestinians almost daily.
What message does it send to journalists and others if such a high-profile journalist is killed and no one is held accountable?
Well, I think the message is that, you know, if Shireen Abu Akleh can be murdered in this brutal way in front of the world, then nobody is safe. But you know what? That message was already delivered by Israel. It's not even, it's in fact a year ago, right now, it's the first anniversary. We're focused on what's happening now, but remember that it was a year ago that Israel deliberately targeted the offices of Al Jazeera in Gaza, bombed the offices of the Associated Press and dozens of local Palestinian news agencies. Israel killed the journalist Yusuf Abu Hussein in his home last year in Gaza. They bombed his home and killed him. And last month, the International Federation of Journalists submitted a complaint to the International Criminal Court alleging war crimes against journalists by Israeli occupation forces, citing the systematic targeting of Palestinian media workers who were killed or maimed by Israeli snipers while covering the Great March of Return demonstrations in Gaza. And nothing was done. Not only was nothing done, but Israel continues to be rewarded and coddled by the so-called international community. And frankly, that's why Shireen Abu Akleh is dead. Had there been accountability for those crimes by Israel, Shireen Abu Akleh would still be alive today. So we have to be very clear that the responsibility is not just on the Israeli occupation, but on all those who are now shedding crocodile tears and pretending to call for accountability investigations. But we only need to look, you know, compare and contrast. Right now, the United States, the European Union, and Canada are sending huge teams of investigators and forensic experts to Ukraine to collect evidence which they say is going to be used for International Criminal Court investigations. But let's be clear, the US and the EU are not waiting for the results of any investigations in Ukraine. They've already decided in advance who is guilty, and then they, say, we'll go out and collect the evidence to prove the conclusions we've already decided in advance. But we have this perverse statement now from Ned Price, the State Department spokesperson, saying that Israel is fully capable of investigating the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh. Can you imagine the State Department and the Biden administration saying that Russia should investigate alleged war crimes in Ukraine? But that's exactly what they do when it comes to Israel. And they pretend, despite all the evidence, that there's somehow, this great mystery about what is killing all these people in Israeli-occupied territories. But it's because they don't want accountability. They just want the pretense of accountability to calm everyone down, let the news cycle pass. It's all over. We kick the can down the road until the next atrocity.
Ali Abunimah, director at Electronic Intifada, an independent online news publication, speaking to us there from Amman. Thank you.
Thank you.